Welcome to the Rocktirement podcast. I'm Gidon Novik, your host. Join me as I dive into the vibrant, dynamic lives of some extraordinary people who will share their thoughts, feelings, and aspirations of their later years. Let's get started. Dr. Ali Bacher, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
On a cold, wintry day in Cape Town, down to celebrate your son's 50th. Mazel tov, congratulations.
Fine. Last Friday, boy, they had a party, I can tell you what. I remember when I was 50, we went to the Wanderers Cricket Stadium, we had a dinner, a couple of speeches, and that's it.
And that was it.
Last Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, you can't believe the party that my son set up for his guests, but yeah.
Did you have to duck out early or did you stick it
No,
out?
I stayed till the end. David was
That's impressive.
hilarious. He was joke after joke, and normally I'm quite a staid person, but I got a lot of laughter, and I enjoyed the evening very much.
Wonderful. Well, I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm a little bit nervous as well. This is my first podcast. I've always wanted to do a podcast. You're my first podcast guest.
It'll be fine.
And I'm just so excited. Just to give a little bit of context, I'm an entrepreneur involved in a few different businesses, and one of them is Circle Senior Living, which is a high-end retirement offering for seniors, for people in their later years. And one of our objectives is really to get to understand older people better. And that's really that's the raison d'etre for this podcast. And you're our first guest because what we are wanting to do is find incredible people that have lived incredible lives like you have, and to understand the life that you've lived. But I think more importantly, to understand where you are now in your life, having lived this incredible life. So maybe just to start off by asking you, you're 82 years old, you turned 82 in May. We're going to talk about your incredible life, but what does it feel like to be 82 and to have lived this incredible life that you've lived?
Look, there's not a day that I don't wake up and say, I'm very, very fortunate. I've had 2 cardiac bypass operations, one in 1981, the other one in 2005, and I now have my 3rd pacemaker. And in addition, there have been other medical issues. So when I wake up in the morning and I go for my walk, every morning, provided it's not too cold, there's not a day that I don't say, Ollie, you're lucky.
I'm
82
sure.
with all this medical background. And I think life has been extraordinarily good to me and my family. There's not a day that I don't say and be thankful for the opportunities that this country has given, not only myself, but my family. I love this country deeply. I'm passionate about the country. It has its problems, but look around the rest of the world. Look what's happened in America. Look what's happened in Europe. So I don't complain.
Well, you've certainly played an incredible role in terms of integration in this country, and particularly in sport. And I just want to ask you to look back at this life that you've lived, which seemed to take on many different chapters. You were a medical doctor for a while. You went into work for a big business for a while. And then, obviously preceding that, you were a top cricketer, captain of South Africa, and one of our country's best sportsmen of all time. And then ultimately finding a career in sports promotion and sports management, and really integrating cricket in a very profound way, kind of like what you were talking about in terms of, people are people. And this is a country of many different people and cultures, and you always saw that as one, and you were able to integrate that. So just your courage, your foresight, I mean, it's so unique. And is that something you're able to pass on to other generations, that way of seeing the world, that way of creating a vision and aiming for that, and doing whatever it takes to get there?
Look, I think from the sporting side, My late mother came from Poland, I think 1931.
Yeah.
My late father came from Lithuania in 1929. So they came to Johannesburg because the story went around the world. Gold, diamonds, that's the country that you can have a good standard of living. So they had no education. So they couldn't go to high school. They had to go and work. And my mom had 5 children, and we all went to good schools, but they couldn't help us because they didn't go to high school themselves. So in many ways, that was a good thing because you learned on your own that, to survive.
Yeah.
You got to fend for yourself and then break through and become successful. From a sporting point of view, my late mother, on her side, there was sport. She had 2 brothers. One was Aaron Nicol. He captained Bacher Park, and he played for Transvaal in the early 50s under the late Eric Rowan. So he was a good cricketer. And then my other uncle, I called him Udall Nicol. He was Julius Nicol. He played South African under-14 soccer. So my mom's side, there was sport. And my one uncle, Julius Nicol, Udall Nicol, he was very close to my mom. He married late in life, and he often used to stay at our house in Geraldine. And whenever there was a big cricket match, a big soccer match, he would buy tickets and take me with him. And I can recall, so I'm born in 42, 1949, I'm 7. He took me to Ellis Park. Then it was, in the summer, a cricket field to watch the Australians play Transvaal. I can never forget it. On the popular side, they was watch it all day. And I think that kind of stirred me on.
Yeah.
I just had a passion, a desire one day to play cricket for my country. And my hero was Sir Donald Bradman, who's the greatest cricketer this world ever seen. And it's quite a funny story, but not a clever story. I'll tell you why.
We want to hear.
Yeah, in the 70s, I wrote him. He was just a legend. I mean, he was just great. And I asked him a lot of questions. Why, when he played, it was 8 balls and over, now 6 balls. The bowling department. Before, if you bowled a no ball, it was the back foot, not the front foot, etc., etc. So off it went. 3 weeks later, I get an 8-page document.
Wow.
Typed out. Evidently, he replied to every letter he ever got. And you know what I did? I read it. I picked it up. Rubbish bin.
Why?
I mean, can you believe it? I didn't keep it. I mean, I'm an idiot. When I think back, how could I do that?
One of your regrets, not keeping his letter.
But in 1992, so we now...
You could have stored it on the cloud had it been today. Yeah.
92. So we're going to Australia. We're back in World Cricket, the World Cup in Sydney. First match, going to Australia. And I wrote to Sir Donald. He said, Ollie, come to Adelaide, spend a night with me and my wife and your wife.
Sure.
So we went there, and I'll never forget it. We went in a taxi. He had a double-story house. He was waiting for us. He jumped out. He went to open the front door for Shera, and we went in for about 2 hours. And the chap was a freak, man. He knew more about South African cricket than I ever knew.
Wow.
And I just listened to him, and I asked him questions. And we then went out to have dinner. He had a surgeon friend, brought him with us, and he liked his red wine that night. And why I'm saying that, because when he played, he never drank.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful story that in 1930, his first tour to England, day 1, he had over 300 at Leeds in the test match, unheard of. So at the close of play, they go back to the hotel. Now, if you and I have got 300 in one day in a test match, we go out that night. No question about it. The story comes, and they tell me it's true, that he had a quiet dinner. He went up to his bedroom, closed the door, and had an early night's sleep. But he had a lot of enemies because he was so brilliant. In Australia, everybody just wanted to meet the Don.
Yeah.
The other players were irrelevant. And the story goes that when they used to come back from England, they'd stop over in Perth, catch a train to Sydney or Melbourne, and stop every now and then. And everybody was just waiting for the Don. And some of the famous Australian players of that era were very resentful of that. But look, he was such a legend that I remember reading an article, I think the Times of New York some time ago, where they tried to evaluate the greatest sportsman of all time. So if you look at soccer, Pele, Maradona, etc., you look at tennis, Rod Laver, all these great players, much of a muchness, couldn't differentiate. But Bradman was unique. His test average was 99.4.
Wow.
So, and the next today is about 61. So that was the difference. And his last test match was at the Oval in England, where he needed 3 runs to get to a test average of 100. And the second ball, a leg spinner called Eric Hollis from Warwickshire, bowled him, a googly bowled him. So he never got
Kept him under 100.
Kept him under.
So life's imperfect, I guess. With all the great successes, even in your life, I'm sure you look back and there's many, many moments, periods of imperfection, disappointment. Do you think about those, or does it just all feel like just one great story when you look back?
Look, I had some wonderful moments. I mean, 1970, I was privileged to be asked to captain South Africa. And some people would say, I'm not saying it, it may well have been South Africa's best ever cricket team. I don't know. But we beat Australia 4-0 in South Africa.
Yes.
If there was a 5th test match, we would have beat them again. And it was just a very young, youthful team. We were confident we would annihilate them. We weren't arrogant. And in that team, there were some unbelievable cricketers who, because of the apartheid era, after 1970 till 1991, we were isolated from world cricket. I think of Barry Richards. Now, Barry Richards only played 4 test matches, averaged over 70. And when I met Sir Donald Bradman, I asked him about Barry Richards because Barry played for South Australia, which is Adelaide. That's where the Don lived. And he said to me he was as good as Sir Jack Hobbs and Sir Leonard Hutton. And if you go to England, those two are revered as the best ever English batsman. And that's how he rated Barry. And then I asked him about Graham Pollock. And he said to me, he's the best left-hand batsman of all time. And I said, Sir Donald, you tell me he was better than Sir Garfield Sobers from the West Indies. He said, Ali, marginally, but Gary Sobers was the best all-rounder of all time. So in that 1970, we had some unbelievable players. Somebody like Mike Proctor.
Yeah.
Lee Irvin. They were fantastic cricketers. Mike Proctor in 7 test matches got 41 test wickets. That was the end of his international career. Yeah. But look, that's life.
Yeah.
You move on. You go into different directions. And, I'm fortunate and I think privileged that certainly in this century, I left cricket in 2003 after being heavily involved for 22 years. And if I made some good decisions in my life, I know when to get out. So don't overstay your welcome because you'll get booted out.
Yeah.
So I retired as a player in 1974. I retired as a cricket administrator in 2003. All at the right time, and I made that call, and I don't regret it. But what it's done for me, it allowed me opportunities in new avenues, unrelated to cricket. For example, I was head at Alexander Forbes of the Community Trust. I was non-executive chairman of the biggest NGO in this country on HIV/AIDS, Right to Care.
Yes.
And then my passion for sport came through very strongly that with the help of SuperSport, I interviewed from 2010 to about a year and a half ago 70 great international sportsmen, sportswomen from South Africa, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and the United Kingdom. And I even interviewed the legendary Billie Jean King, who was fantastic.
Oh,
I
what a
interviewed
legend.
her in Somerset West. It's a long story I got to her, but she was great. I mean, she arrived, the appointment was at 12 o'clock, 2 minutes of 12, she arrived.
Yeah.
She went to have her hair done. And, these interviews are not live. So if you make a mistake, you stop. And on this occasion, my producer, every 3 minutes, I'd ask a question, she'd give a wonderful answer, and he'd say, sorry, start again. And I was losing my cool. And she said, Ollie, relax. It's not important.
Yeah.
At the end of the interview, she gave everybody a great hug. So that's why she's a legend in America.
Yeah.
She's so highly thought of, Billie Jean King.
Well, I love the concept that you've spoken about, which is having different chapters in your life. And I think it can be such a trap to be stuck in one chapter and not giving yourself the permission to move on to new chapters and different chapters and scary chapters and exciting chapters. And that's what I find so fascinating about your life, is the different chapters that you've built and that you've lived. And the chapter that you're in now, which I'm so fascinated by, is a new chapter in and of itself. And one of the questions in my mind is, like, obviously it's different. Physically, it's different. You can't do the things that you used to be. You were a top sportsman, and you've had health issues. So now you can't do the things. Are there things that you can do now that you couldn't do when you were younger? Are there skills that you've developed? Are there things that you've discovered that you wouldn't have even dreamt of as a young person?
The era is different. So as I said to you, my son turned 50, big party. He's got 2 children. Nobody helped him in their speeches. They just get up and the words flow.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I mean, I was captain of Transvaal age 21. I couldn't speak. And I was taking out Shera then, and her mom was a great English language perfectionist. And she used to write my speeches for about 2 years. And I'd just tell her what was in my mind, because as Captain Transvaal, you've got to make a lot of speeches. And I'd go home and I'd swat it like a history exam. And 2 weeks later, I'd regurgitate it. I'd get applause. But it wasn't my speech. But with time, I started to get confidence, and, I was then able to almost impromptu get up and make a speech and get my mind working. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. I have a present involvement which might be my last one.
Yes.
I am a patron of Taddy Blecher's Maharaji
Amazing.
Institute. This is an institute for the poorest of the poor, black students who got good brains. They can't afford to go to WITS. They can't afford to go to UCT. And he and myself have raised money to get these students to do a BCom degree, which is highly recognized by the education authorities in this country. And it's a 4-year course. And I think at the end of last year, and I give these kids a lot of talks, my life, good points, bad points, question time, it's great. And then at the end of my last talk, somebody came up to me, one of the students said, Dr. Bacher, you're a sportsman. I said, yeah. He said, listen, we're in an 11-story building. At break time, we can't kick a soccer ball anywhere. There's nowhere to play tennis. What's going on? And in a nice way. And my mind started. And where Standard Bank old head office is?
Yes, in town.
And between them and Maharaji Institute, Standard Bank have a big area paved. It's their property.
Yes.
And they've given us a quarter of one of those properties to build a multi-purpose sports complex.
Sure.
Which Standard Bank are a shareholder, and so is Taddy Blecher. And I'm driving that project. And it'll take about 6 to 8 months, but we will have for the first time in a city in South Africa, a multi-purpose sports complex for the people of that city, which is crazy because in my cricket travels around, particularly, the many countries I've visited, in the centre of Sydney, Melbourne, London, there's a sports complex.
Yeah.
There's nothing in Johannesburg. There's nothing in any of the other cities in this country. And it's going to happen, and we'll make it happen. And there's a lot of enthusiasm from Standard Bank and Taddy, and it's going to be great.
Amazing. And this energy, these energy levels, how do you keep it up? How do you keep this level of energy? Don't you get tired? Don't you feel like going home and taking a nap like I often do?
I don't know what a nap in the afternoon means. I don't know. A lot of the people that I grew up with, contemporaries of mine, who done well in business, marketing director, sales director, I see them, I say, how's it going? They say, look, great. I say, what are you doing? Nothing. I say, what do you mean nothing? We've had our problems. We've had our headaches. We've had our pressures. It's enough now. Don't want any more part of it. That's not me, because I remember after I was the Cricket World Cup in 2003, which I drove it for about 2.5 years. I think it went off very well. And people said, what are you going to do now? I said, look, I'll find something. And you know what? For 3 months, I never got one phone call. And then one day I woke up and I looked at my schedule and I realized at 11 o'clock, the only thing I had for the day was to go collect my dry cleaning. I realized I had a problem.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone and one thing led to another, and I've gone in different directions, and it motivates me. It stimulates me. If I had nothing to do, nothing to push me, I'd be a disaster. And so nothing's changed in my life. I wake up at 2 in the morning, I'm thinking. I run into my study, I write it down in case I forget it. 4 o'clock in the morning, same, 6 o'clock there. I go for my walk, I'm thinking, I'm making a call, yeah. And that's my daily life. It hasn't changed, and my family understand that. And, I think they're trying to suppress me to call it a day now, but I'm still going. And
good luck to them. It's not going to happen.
And it's kept me going. It's kept me going to have an interest in international affairs. This country I love dearly. And for me, South Africa is still the greatest country in the world.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. Are you, do you worry about stuff? Are you afraid of
No, not really. No.
anything?
No, problems are there to overcome. I had the only moment in my life where I lost my confidence was the end of the Gatting tour, where F.W. de Klerk, to his credit, allowed peaceful demonstrations. And I'd organized Mike Gatting's Rebel Tour. I did it. I've never denied it. And they played in Kimberley, Bloemfontein, Pietermaritzburg, and Johannesburg, the Wonder Stadium. And there were ugly scenes. There was peaceful but robust demonstrations. Thousands of people came out. And I was there on my own. And it destroyed my confidence. And eventually we came to an agreement to curtail that tour. There'd be no second tour the following year, and we'd facilitate unification of South African cricket between white and black for the first time. And we had a meeting on a Sunday night at Michael Katz's offices, at his home. He was the facilitator between me and somebody from the South African Cricket Board. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, we came to a reasonable agreement. But I lost my confidence.
Yeah.
The township program which I'd started, it was closed to us. My white board turned their back on me. I was isolated. I was on my own. And for 3 months, I'd go home at lunchtime. I'd turn off my phone, have a little nap. And it was the worst 3 months of my life. I lost all my confidence. And then one night, it was a Wednesday night, I got a phone call from Frederick van Zyl Slabbert, who I'd known down the years, and I had a great respect for him. And I went to with all my problems of the skating tour. And he said to me on the Wednesday night, he phoned me about 10:30. And I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm at the old Carlton Hotel." I said, "What are you doing there?" He said, "We're having the first ever meeting with the ANC who've come from Lusaka with Anglo-American and white not only administrators, business people." And he said, "I want you to go down to East London and to go to Indensani and to meet Steve Schwetty." And I said, "Who's he?" So I went down. Friday, a great friend of mine, Robbie Mazzell, his wife, car, had a driver, took me into Indensani. And I waited. There was nobody there. Evidently, he went to see his father, Steve. And then, knock on the door. He comes in, this big chap, thick rimmed glasses. So we shake hands and we sit down. And I was on the couch and I sunk to the ground. And he's a tall bloke and he had a nice chair and he was looking down at me. And I don't know what I said for 45 minutes. I've got no idea. But you know, at the end of it, he put out his hand. He said, "Ali, I'm going to help you." And he never stopped helping me.
What a moment.
And he saved me because I was history.
Sure.
The blacks were after me. The white bull was after me. And he was such a formidable figure in the ANC that everybody respected him. And the fact that he said he would support me saved the day for me. Because without him, I'm telling you, I'm history.
One moment in time that could have gone the other way. Do you think it's that binary in terms of the course of one's life, that there's this one moment that sets you on a positive course or down a road of...
Look, I don't know. I mean, I got a... Van Zyl Slabbert, he saved me.
Yeah.
Steve Schwetty saved me. You know, I think back in my past, people were of the opinion that I ran cricket on my own. That's rubbish. When there were major, major issues, I had two great advisors, Michael Katz and Mervyn King.
Yeah.
And there were tricky moments, difficult moments for me, political issues, and I'd phone one of the two of them, go there, they'd never charge me, they'd see me right away. And to this day, I still use it for good advice.
So you've been amazing at being able to find the right people at the right time and know and understand that as good as you are and as talented, as ambitious as you are, you can't do things alone in this world.
Definitely not. You can't. And, you know, I've got other people who've in some other way have helped me. I mean, I think back in my early days, we had Baker's mini cricket.
Yes.
That was the product that we took to the black townships, that the young kids liked and enjoyed cricket, because it used to be said, black children only play soccer. They don't use cricket. It's rubbish. They were never exposed to it. So we took Baker's mini cricket to the townships and we couldn't believe it. And after about 3 weeks, I phoned Mervyn King. I said, "Mervyn, listen, there's something happening out here. We got to develop it." And he and I raised a lot of money, and that's how the program started. But the point is, we had them for 27 years.
Sure.
And I never, ever had a signed contract with them. It was handshake, 3 years, and we had the most marvelous relationship. They tell me things are a bit different today.
Sure. But these long-term relationships are everything in terms of building things, in terms of that feeling of being supported and that feeling of doing things and not feeling alone.
Look, I've had tough moments at getting to, and Eddie finished me off.
Yeah.
As I said to you, I lost all my confidence. But Steve saved me.
Yeah.
He saved me.
And today, do you feel supported? Do you feel, I mean, if you ask me, the thing I'm afraid of most as I get older, it's of being alone or being, not having this family, friends, business colleagues, this kind of network of people that are part of my community. Do you have that feeling of support, of community, family?
Yeah, look, I'm fortunate. I've got a wonderful wife, 3 great children, 8 great children, a lot of great friends. So I don't feel isolated. I wake up in the morning, I don't worry about my health. This is my last day. I just want to keep on going, And, I went to Pennsylvania recently on a cricket mission, anyhow. And the person who invited me was a cardiologist from Cape Town University. He's about 78, 79. He's still now going around the world giving lectures. And he said to me, look, Ollie, one day people live to 140. I said, what? I said, can I be first in the queue?
So you would like as many years as possible?
As long as my mind's good.
Yeah.
I feel I still got things to do that I want to do.
Tell us about those.
Well, I want to get over this project first with Standard Bank and Teddy Pletcher. But I'll think of it.
So these things pop up.
They
these
pop
new
up.
ideas.
They pop. I don't try to work out what I'm going to do in 3 years' time. It can't work like that. Sometimes it's just a sudden conversation, a sudden phone call that triggers off my mind.
Yeah.
And I get going.
And you get focused on that one thing and you just go.
I don't deviate. My kids say that I'm too short. If I've got my mind on something, and the obstacles on the way, and I believe strongly in it, I'll go through that barrier.
Yeah.
And I'll take a couple of people with me to make sure that that project survives.
And only does time speed up. They say, years feel like they go faster and faster as we age. Does it feel like that to you?
I can't believe, I never down the years have thought about the past.
Yeah.
Where I've made mistakes, I try to learn from them. We had a famous professor of surgery, Duplessis. He was probably the only person I've ever been scared of. But he had one saying, you're all entitled to make one mistake. Never make the same mistake twice. And that's been my motto. But I must admit, with the pandemic and being isolated at home, and I have a tennis court, for the first time in my life, I'm walking around and I'm thinking of my days at Yeovil Boys Primary School, my days at Kientra School, Wits Medical School. That's an interesting part. I was so obsessed with cricket. When I was 17, 18, I was already playing for Transvaal. And I was at medical school. I don't know how I got there, but I wasn't interested in medicine. I just wanted to play cricket. And look, we fumbled along the way the first 3 years because my mind was in cricket. I think in first year when we were writing exams, I think I was in Bulawayo playing for Transvaal in a Currie Cup match. So I don't think I did well in that particular exam. But when I got into fourth year, I realized I'd made the right decision because medicine is about communication, about talking to people, listening to their problems. And that's what I enjoy doing. I don't want to say leading, I like to be with people and help where I can. So I've always enjoyed captaincy.
Yeah.
Not being in charge, but, you've got a team of 11, 9 players are doing well, leave them. They're doing well. The 2 that aren't doing well. Subtly, try to lift them, get their morale up, get them to perform better. So I've always enjoyed leading.
Yes.
As opposed to Jacques Callis, who is probably the greatest all-round cricketer the world's ever seen with Gary Sobers. He couldn't lead. I mean, if you made him captain, he probably would have gone into another sport. So people are different. I like to work with people.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed medicine. I mean, I gave up when I was seeing 50 people a day. But my problem was getting too involved emotionally with people's problems.
Yeah.
And that's why I had to exit medicine. It was starting to wear me down.
Yeah. I want to ask you about legacy. I was reading recently about the fact that after 2 or 3 generations, basically, we're all going to be forgotten about. We'll be lucky if our great-grandchildren actually even know our names. Is legacy important to you?
Not to me personally, but it is a negative within the South African society. If you go to Australia and you speak to the current Australian test players, and you mention somebody who played for Australia in the 30s, and was successful, they will all know about him.
Yeah.
They know about the past, not in South Africa. I mean, Jacques Kallis, as I said to you, is one of the greatest all-round cricketers of all time. All time. That's a fact. You go around the country, Jacques Kallis, was he that good? Was Barry Richards that good? Was Graham Pollock that good? Was Lee Irvin that good? They don't remember the past. It's all about the future, which I think is a negative in our cricket society.
So in other words, kind of a culture of honoring the past and honoring heroes. I mean, we have so many in this country, giants really, that have graced this place and actually got us to where we are today. So it's interesting that you've lived your life, just taken big things on almost naturally, with no intent of fame or greatness. They kind of happened over time, and have huge respect for you for that, and as so many people do. What are the kind of things that do you have like a sequence every day that you do to make you to look after your health, to make sure you connect with people, or is it kind of a wake up and the day unfolds as it does?
Look, my lifestyle is rather different. I like to talk to people.
Yes.
I don't write long speeches. Somebody sends me a long email, he'll get a 2-liner reply from me.
I like that.
And I like to talk to people and, if possible, to see them. I don't like communication by correspondence. The only time in my life that I've put together more than a 2-page document was at the end of the World Cup in 2003. I had to report to the ICC about the event, but I got other people to do it for me. So that's me, and I learned this from Mervyn King.
Yeah.
Highly intellectual, top brain person in this country. I know well, and we got him onto our board in the mid-70s. In fact, Don Mackay-Coggle, my great friend who now lives in Perth, he got him to come on our board. And, you'd have a board meeting starting at 8, and a topic would come up, and everybody would be just waffling, trying to get their message across, but going on and on and on. And it came to Mervyn King, and he said, "Gentlemen, there are 3 points. 1, 2, 3.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple." And after 10 minutes, we had a decision. And I think that's been me. I'm not one for long speeches, long essays. Make it simple, get to the point, and act and be decisive. And you've got to have problems, because in leadership, not everybody's going to agree with you.
Of course.
And if you feel strongly about it, as I have on certain issues,
Yeah,
I'll go straight, and I'll take a couple of people with me.
clearly.
And I've knocked a few people down, but not intentionally, but because I believe strongly on an idea, purpose, and objective, and I felt we had to go that route.
How have you dealt with loss? Family members, friends?
Badly. I'm having a terrible run at the moment. Being 82, going 83, a lot of my contemporaries, people I know well, are dying.
Yeah.
And there's been a period over the last 2 or 3 months, almost every week, I'm at West Park Cemetery.
Sure.
And it hurts me to lose people that I grew up with, have been part of my life, man. And the 2 other people that I know very well who are also around the corner, and they know what's in store for them. But it's terrible. It's terrible that, people who have meant so much to me and given me so much support, that I'm going to lose them very quickly.
I'm sorry. And I often wonder whether it gets easier, because it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. And look, life's been good for me. I was, with my medical problems, I still got a wife that's very supportive. in good health. My 3 kids are fantastic. They're all professional people, have all done well. All done well. One's a lawyer, one's an architect, one's a financial man. And then my 8 grandchildren, they've all done well, man. Unbelievable.
I can see your face light up when you talk about them, and I've got no doubt, and I've heard the huge lessons and privileges that they've had just chatting to you and learning from your rich life. I'm curious as to what you've learned maybe from them, from your grandkids who are maybe in their teens or younger, some in their 20s. Any lessons you've learned from them? You spoke about the confidence at your son's birthday party and that kind of confident generation that can get up.
Look, it's a different era. You know, the young generation act differently, behave differently. They're living a lifestyle that my wife and myself grew up with. Strong family ties, strong family unit. Friday night dinner together, Sunday lunch together. There's not a weekend that I'm not in close contact with my daughter and her family, or the other daughter. Friday nights, we often have it, Shabbos together. So we're a close unit, which means enormous to me. At the end of the day, I always say to my immediate family, look, you can have friends, but there's nothing like a close family.
Nothing.
And in my life, I've had 3 very close friends. One died, Cox, in Australia. He's battling a bit. And then another person, Lee Irvin, who's, played cricket for me for South Africa, made a very close friend of mine in good health. But the rest are acquaintances. If you've got a serious problem, I'm not going to go to them, and they wouldn't want me to come to them. I'll treat it internally, or I might go to these other 2 or 3 close friends of mine. So we're a close unit. Nothing's changed. And it means everything to me and my wife that the weekends, as I said to you, whether it's Friday night Shabbos dinner, Saturday morning with Lynn and her family, Sunday lunchtime with Anne and her family, we're interacting all the time.
I love that. I love the just that tradition, that ritual that you have clearly passed on to your kids and your grandkids, where so often the worry with younger people is that they're not doing that, and they're stuck on social media, and that they are not connecting with people that they love. And clearly you have created that culture within your family, and hopefully beyond that, of the value that brings to life.
Look, I'm in Cape Town. We came down for David's 50th birthday party. My one daughter's staying with us till tomorrow morning. One of David's best friends staying with us. And on Thursday night, Lynn's son, Shane, who's at, a top financial bloke now. Well, not financial, but he's a top man. He's coming to have dinner with us and spend the night with us. So we were very close. It's not as though I have to force him to come here. It's almost as they phoned Dad, we're coming over.
Beautiful. Right. I want to touch on something which I've just kind of realized is such a big part of you, and I think your youthfulness, and that is the ideas that you've had in your life, and the inventions and the initiatives. And even now, you're talking about new initiatives. And my theory, and it's probably science, is that these kind of things keep you youthful and young and energetic. And I want to reflect back to something in your life which is quite fascinating, and many people may not know. But you were telling me the story about being in a cricket match or watching a cricket match where clearly in the old days a bad decision was made. Somebody was run out and they shouldn't have been run out. And you suggested at the time that technology should be used, basic technology, replay technology, and resulted in the creation of a third umpire, which is so kind of commonplace and absolutely a part of modern day sport. And I just love that innovation that you introduced, how enduring it's become, and how much it is a part of you, this idea of saying, well, why should things be like that? And why can't they be better? And what do I need to do? Not just think up the idea, but who do I need to call? What do I need to do to actually make things better?
I said it was 1991. I was in London for an ICC meeting, and I said, look, I'll stay over on the Saturday and watch one of the domestic finals at Lord's. It rained all day, so I moved it till Sunday night. So I got to Heathrow Airport, and I'm in the business class lounge, and they're replaying a match at Lord's. And the bottom line is, a chap is given a nod out, but he's run out by about a yard. And I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, it wasn't a 2-inch, it was a yard. The bloke was miles out, and he stayed on to win the game. So I got on the plane and got to Joburg, and I phoned SuperSport and two of their top people. I said, listen, I got this idea. So they listened to me, and they were right behind it. So now we need to implement it. So India are now touring South Africa, and I had a very good relationship with the captain, Mohammed Azharuddin, and their coach, and I called them to the Wanderers Stadium on the rugby field. And I said, listen, I saw this. It's crazy, man. We need to get a third umpire who could watch replays to get the right decisions. No, we can't do it. I said, listen, please think about it. So Clive Lloyd, the famous West Indian captain, who is now in South Africa as to see everything's all right, I phoned Clive. I said, Clive, I need you. So he comes over and he talks them into it. So we go down to Kingsmead, and for the first time ever, we used the third umpire. I never spoke to my board. These two Indians never spoke to their board. It would never happen today. And it happened. And then we came to the second test match of the Wanderers, and the West Indian umpire who was in charge, his name was Clive Buckner. And he went public. He said, I'm not using that. I'm going to use my eyes. We don't need that on a game. So it so happened at that test match, Jonty Rhodes was run out when he had 21. He was miles out, but he was given not out. And he went on to score about 80.
Sure.
And Steve Buckner, the square leg umpire who gave him not out, went home to the Santon Sun Hotel, as he tells it, turned on the TV, saw the replay, and said, crikey. He phoned me the next morning and said, Ollie, let's have a press conference. So I phoned Clive Lloyd. I said, Clive, come, let's go. So we had a press conference with Steve Buckner, and he went public to the world. He's now going to use it. And that's how it started.
Amazing. And it will be there forever, which is
ever.
quite something.
I mean, I think back on my test career, I played 12 test matches. I had 3 terrible decisions against me, but terrible. I mean, I remember the one match, I think Graham McKenzie came round the wicket. There was a howling wind, and I played a shot. I must have missed it by 2 yards. The Aussies appealed, and I was given out 3 times. Doesn't happen today.
Yeah.
You know, and thank God for it. You know, so that was part of an innovation that I was
amazing.
proud to be part of.
So if you can think of one thing that you're excited about as we wrap up, 82 years old with a life that's as rich as any of us could ever hope for and imagine to be, what excites you about the future?
Look, I remain very loyal, very positive about this country.
Yeah.
Very positive. I mean, I have no negative thoughts other than to be aware of the political issues here, et cetera, et cetera. But you look around the world's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
It's an absolute mess. Are we an absolute mess? I don't believe so. We have problems, but I think the new political setup in this country, I think is a good decision. We hope it works. It should work. And I think this could be the basis of a new political dimension for this country, because if you look in Europe, very few countries where one of the parties get a majority vote. They don't get it. It's all about unions which I think is good, because if you've got a majority vote, you can do what you want and you can get away with it. So I'm quietly confident about this country, and I'm not leaving it. I'll be here to the end of my diet. And I love this country, and I'm thankful for the opportunity it's given me personally and my family. We are very, very blessed with this country.
Well, your optimism is contagious. It is quite inspiring, actually, to sit here and talk to you and just understand what it's like to be 82 and to just be so energetic and positive and reflective about the past and just really optimistic about the future. And I think you are an incredible example to older people and younger people alike who can learn so much from you. Thank you for your time. It's been a real privilege. You've got our podcast series off to a flying start, and I thank you for that.
My pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
It's been a real treat, and wish you all the best of health and success and new ideas and lots of energy. And thank you once again.
I'll keep on going. Thank you.
Remember, retirement isn't about slowing down. It's about living the next chapter on your terms. I'm Gidon Novik, and this has been the Rocktirement Podcast, brought to you by Circle Senior Living.